Over 20 years ago, this man was Europe Minister, but today he's the Cabinet Minister in charge of leaving Europe. David Davis, a lifelong Eurosceptic tasked with making the EU acceptable during John Major's premiership, now smiling. He's in charge of pulling us out altogether. Tonight he left number 10 and after just a few paces entered his new department. Since the UK voted to leave the EU, the civil servants inside this building have been working on how we leave the EU. Today, there's a new Prime Minister, there's a new Cabinet Minister for Brexit, and all together they are now working on one of the most complicated tasks any government's been set, probably since the Second World War. Theresa May means business on Brexit, not only putting a hard negotiator and ultra-Eurosceptic in charge, but making chief Brexiteer Boris Johnson the Foreign Secretary and creating another post for ardent EU critic Liam Fox, the Cabinet Minister, now devoted to new trade deals. With these appointments, she gains party unity too, delighting Eurosceptic backbenchers. The first decision, when to trigger Article 50. In an article published just days ago, David Davis set out his views, and in it he agreed with the new Prime Minister. Article 50 should not be triggered until the end of this year, or the beginning of next. Even so, one legal expert believes they'll have to consult Parliament.
I think that it would need to be a collective decision. So I doubt very much that the Secretary of State for Brexit is going to wake up one morning and he or she is going to say, oh, let's do it today. It's very much going to be something that has to have been carefully prepared.
David Davis's Euroscepticism hardened on seeing the UK lose out in recent years from global trade. He now thinks we can negotiate trade deals with non-EU countries in 12 to 24 months. But what about trading with the EU? David Davis wants tariff-free access to the EU's single market, but not to the expense of our borders and control over immigration. This is the hardest bargain to strike, but Davis has said in the past he believes that when the EU realises the UK won't budge on immigration, it will give in. The new Brexit minister also believes losing all access to the single market and instead being subject to World Trade Organization tariffs, the so-called hard Brexit, that shouldn't worry the UK.
People should be under no illusions that this is a very difficult and complex task, and it's really going to need people who know what they're doing and what they're talking about.
David Davis predicts the UK formally leaves the EU in December 2018, sending the Tories into a 2020 election with the early fruits of new British global trade deals, in his words. The public has wanted a Brexit plan since the referendum. Now they have it. Allegra Stratton, News at 10.